Most gay people think retiring abroad means hiring lawyers, bribing embassies, and giving up their U.S. passports. But good news, if you're over 50, have Social Security, a pension, or a 401k, you're already richer on paper than most countries require in order for you to get a visa.
And the problem isn't your money. It's that no one told you how easy some of these visa program or residency programs really are. This is Queer Money episode 628, and today we're going to be grounding your dreams of retiring abroad in reality. These are verifiable LGBTQ-friendly countries where Americans can get residency without being ultra wealthy and where everyday life actually costs less.
No, this is current information as of the time of this recording. Rules and laws are always changing, especially as Trump bulldozes over the entire world order. Check with your local consulates or immigration attorneys with a specialty in the country that you want to retire or move to before you proceed further.
I think one of the things to keep in mind, the week we are recording this episode is the week that the Trump administration basically came out and said that they are banning visas from from 75 countries. When things like that happen, oftentimes when one country takes an action against another country when it comes to visas, there is typically a reciprocal action from that other country. So as John mentioned, we need to stay current on this information. We're going to be sharing information with you as of the time of this recording.
Hey there, it's David here in cold Ohio. Real quick, I want to tell you to skip the cliches when it comes to freedom. Invest in real mobility through the Optimize Portugal Golden Opportunities Fund. More about that from John in just a bit.
Diving into the 6 countries that we're going to cover in no particular order, the first here is Portugal. Portugal sits on the western edge of Europe along the Atlantic Ocean, bordering Spain, and is known for its mild Mediterranean climate, sunny coastlines, rolling hills, historic cities, and dramatic beaches and cliffs.
So why does Portugal work when it comes to residency visas? Well, it is one of the most approachable long-stay residency paths for Americans, especially for those who are looking for something that's income-based. It does have strong LGBTQ protections for the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, and the Q's. It is a place where it's not just in the laws, it's also lived on the streets. It also is a country that has reliable healthcare and walkable cities.
As for affordability, which is very important for the Queer Money community, Portugal is about 29% cheaper than that of the United States. Remember, we're talking about country to country here. We're not talking about city to city. Of course, it's cheaper outside of metropolitan areas such as Lisbon. Groceries, healthcare, and transit are major savings for retirees and other expats here in Portugal.
So there are 2 visas that are probably the most common visas that retirees would be taking a look at. The first one is called the D7 or passive or remote income type of visa that gives you residency. This is for non-EU adults. So anyone outside of the European Union, which is those of us who are Americans, can qualify for this if we can show that we have at least €870 in passive stable income. So that's coming from sources like Social Security, pensions, rentals, if we have rental properties or other forms of investment. You also have to have €10,440 in a Portuguese bank account during the application process, and you need proof of housing in Portugal. And all of these numbers when it comes to income or amounts in bank accounts, that will go up if you are moving with a spouse or with children as well.
Then there's the Portuguese Golden Visa, which of course is, we think the easiest way to do that is with the Optimize Investment Partners Golden Opportunities Fund, who is the sponsor of the Queer Money podcast. That is an investment-based visa, not a real estate-based visa, which is pretty important to keep in mind. We link to the Optimize Investment Partners Golden Opportunities Fund in the YouTube description of this video, as well as the podcast player if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And if you're looking for more detail on these visas or other visas from countries that we cover in this International Gay Cities series, take a look at the Gay Retirement Visa Playbook that is part of the Queer Money Retirement Vault. There's a link to that is in the YouTube description, as well as a link in your podcast player. All right, our second country is the country of Mexico. Mexico lies south of the U.S. border between the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean Sea, and features everything from tropical beaches, deserts, high altitude cities, and mountains mountains with warm to hot weather across much of the country year-round.
Mexico works for a lot of LGBTQ plus retirees because one thing is that same-sex marriage has been legalized nationwide for years. It's familiar culture for a lot of Americans and has a strong expat infrastructure. I mean, Canadians and Americans have been retiring in Mexico for years and years. And there's a lot of flexible options for residency, as we've learned ourselves personally, that we'll elaborate here on in a minute.
When it comes to affordability in general, Mexico is about 38% cheaper than the United States. Obviously, that depends on the city that you live in and where in that city you live. Some of the big wins are rent and healthcare when you look at the country overall.
The visa that's probably most appropriate for our Queer Money listeners and viewers is Mexico's temporary resident visa, which lets you live in the country for up to 4 years with a path to permanent residency by proving either about $60,000 to $80,000 in savings or at least $3,738 in monthly income. Applying at a Mexican consulate, as we did just north of here in Detroit, and then completing your residency card process with immigration after you arrive, as we did ourselves in Ajijic.
If you find this information helpful when you're planning your retirement, whether that is early, abroad, or traditional, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment and share so that we can keep delivering this kind of information to you about other countries.
Next up is Thailand. Thailand is in Southeast Asia between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, known for its tropical climate, lush jungles, fertile river valleys, modern cities, and thousands of palm-fringed beaches and islands.
So why does Thailand work? Thailand made marriage equality the law of the land in 2025, so they're making great progress. It has also massive affordability advantages for many things, including excellent healthcare at prices Americans can stomach.
Speaking of prices, Thailand's about 43% cheaper than that of the United States, with rent, food, and transportation being dramatically lower than most places here in the U.S.
When it comes to retirement, probably the most common visa folks are going to be looking at is the Thai retirement visa. Thailand's retirement visa allows individuals who are over the age of 50 to live in the country by showing that they either have $22,500 in a Thai bank account or about $1,830 of monthly income, or a combination of the two. Plus, you need to have healthcare insurance that is approved by the government. It is not necessarily the Thai health insurance system that you're a part of, but you do need to have that health insurance.
Another visa that may be appropriate for a lot of our listeners who we know are remote workers and freelancers is the Destination Thailand Visa, or DTV, which lets remote workers and freelancers earning income from abroad stay in Thailand for up to 180 days per visit, and the visa lasts for up to 5 years, provided that you show proof of remote work and about $13,000 in savings, with the option to include a spouse or children.
Our next country is the country of Greece. Greece sits on the southeastern part of the European continent along the Mediterranean Sea with warm, sunny climate, rugged mountains, and thousands of islands and beaches scattered across the Aegean and Ionian seas.
And why does this work for LGBTQ plus retirees? Well, the first is that this is where homosexuality got started, so blame the Greek. Other reasons are that same-sex marriage is legal. Mediterranean lifestyle with EU residency access makes this super appealing to LGBTQ plus retirees, and it's still attractive for investment-based applicants.
Yeah, when it comes to affordability, overall, the country of Greece is about 20 to 30% cheaper than the U.S., especially outside some of the prime islands such as Mykonos and Santorini. Utilities and groceries in the country are considered to be moderate. Rent varies, obviously, sharply, depend on where you are in the country. On those popular islands, it's obviously going to be more expensive.
Exactly. And the reason that we chose to include Greece in this particular list is because it has one of the cheapest golden visas around. The golden visa for Greece can start as low as $275,000, which is available to non-EU citizens for up to 5 years renewable residency permit with Schengen access by requiring fully paid real estate investment starting at about $275,000 to can get as high as $440,000 outside of premium areas. And there's more premium areas. You could be looking at a starting range of about $880,000 with no minimum save requirements. So it's super appealing for a lot of reasons, but you have to be flexible with where you want to make your investment.
I think one of the things I love about this is that for a lot of Americans, a lot of their wealth is in the equity they have in their homes. So if you do sell your home, you oftentimes can take that equity and then go purchase a home in Greece in cash, fully paid, which is the requirement is that you have to have this fully paid. So it's accessible to a lot more individuals than they think that it might be accessible to them because they're not looking at the equity in their homes as a way to basically basically move to another country.
Of course, you want to make that transaction before you are residing in another country, so you don't have to pay the full tax liability.
Yeah. So last time when we were looking at countries, we took a look at the country of Germany. We talked about the top 5 cities for LGBTQ folks in that country. Coming up in 2 weeks, we're going to be looking at Croatia, which is another country that many of you have asked us to cover. As far as this week, we're looking at visas. We would really love to hear from some of you who have already moved to some of these countries and other countries and tell us what you think of the visa process, or those of you who are on the forefront of this information who may know what is going on and maybe there have been some 2026 changes that we're just not aware of.
All right, the 5th country we're covering here is Brazil. Brazil is the largest country in South America, stretching from the Amazon rainforest to miles of Atlantic coastline, and it is mostly tropical climate with lush jungles, vast plains, mountains, and a vibrant coastal city.
Many miles of Atlantic coastline.
And it has more than one city. I don't know why I said city.
Yeah, so why does it work? Well, it is one of the countries with the strongest LGBTQ protections and legal frameworks in the global south. It has a vibrant queer culture beyond just the cities of Rio and Sao Paulo. It does have a lower investment threshold for most golden visas when it comes to countries that have golden visas, which we'll talk about here in just a second.
As for affordability, Brazil is about 55% cheaper than the United States. Rent and services are especially affordable, especially outside of luxury neighborhoods.
When it comes to your visas, probably the most common that folks will be looking at is the Brazil retirement visa. Brazil's retirement visa allows for retirees who qualify by showing that they have around $2,000 a month in pension or Social Security income. This grants them an initial 2-year permit or residency that can be renewed and eventually lead to permanent residency.
Exactly. And the next one that we're going to cover has been brought to our attention by our friend Daniel Atz of citizenship.eu. This is little known. It's the Brazil investor visa. This lets you secure residency that converts to permanent status in about 3 years by investing as little as about $29,000 in a qualified Brazilian startup, with the option to later pursue citizenship, which is little known, little used, but we definitely want to bring it to your attention.
Yeah. I think this one is really accessible to a lot more folks in the queer community because that $29,000 is one of the lowest in the world when it comes to gaining access to a country.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you get to be integral in helping a startup become something bigger and help provide a lot of jobs and employment for a lot of people.
Hello from sunny Florida. Like you, your IRA deserves better than bland. With Optimize, you can roll it over into the Portugal Golden Opportunities Fund, keeping tax perks, building wealth, and unlocking Portugal's golden visa. Click now in the video description to discover more.
All right, our 6th and final country is Latvia. Now, Latvia is a small Baltic nation in northeastern Europe between Estonia and Lithuania. It's along the Baltic Sea. It has cool 4-season climate, flat forests, lakes, and sandy coastlines.
Now, why does Latvia work? Well, it's one of the fastest improving LGBTQ plus legal environments in Europe, Eastern Europe specifically, with much more work ahead. Now, you might be questioning, why would we propose Latvia? Consider Latvia as more of a means to an end. Relatively easy to get a visa in Latvia, and then you can use that visa pretty much anywhere in the Shenzhen region, which that's another one of the benefits of it. EU residency with Shenzhen access and low cost of living profile. Also, same-sex civil unions were legalized in 2024, giving couples real legal standing for residency, healthcare, inheritance, and family reunification.
When it comes to affordability, Latvia is about 24-25% cheaper than the US overall. Some of the big wins are when it comes to rent, groceries, and healthcare. The city of Riga costs more than many of the small towns, but it's still far below Western European standards.
Then one of 2 visas to consider are Latvia's property investment residency permit, which is for non-EU citizens to obtain a 5-year renewable EU residency with Shenzhen access, and a path to permanent residency by buying at least a $250,000 investment in Latvian real estate, plus a 5% fee with no minimum stay requirement.
The second residency visa that you might be looking at is the temporary residence via a financially independent person. Would you like to be my financially independent person?
I will be your person.
Latvia's financially independent person visa allows residency for retirees who qualify for EU residence by showing that they have about 1,500 to 2,000 euros in monthly income or sufficient savings. That income does need to come from things like Social Security, pensions, investments. It has to kind of be that passive income means. The other thing here is that you also have to have a local physical address, as well as a Latvian bank account and health insurance when you apply.
Now remember, all the details for these visas and all the future countries that we'll be covering in the near future are available for you in the Gay Retirement Visa Playbook in the Queer Money Retirement Vault, linked to in this YouTube description or in your podcast player.
So retiring abroad isn't about running away. It's about running the numbers. And these 6 countries prove it, that you don't need to have billionaire money to move and live openly, legally, and affordably. The real unlock isn't a passport. It's a knowing which doors actually open.
Exactly. Then let us know in the comments which country or which visa suits your vibe. We'd love to hear from you for sure. Then join us next week when we cover how to reach financial independence in 3 years. Until next time,
Stay fabulous.
And if you're concerned with how your taxes might be affected by retiring in one of these or the many countries that we're covering in this series, check out this video right here.